He's coming. God, where I am.
Hi, my name is Lucas. 2 years ago, I traveled from Los Angeles to Russia. My grandmother lives in Siberia, and my parents and I decided to visit her. It was June, and the forests of Siberia were full of life. My parents and I arrived in a small town called Baikalsk. It was a beautiful place with a huge beach on Lake Baikal, a real resort.
The air is so clean here. It's very strange. It sounds like the ocean coast, but the air completely different.
We were supposed to stay in that town for 3 days, but every evening we had to go into the forest. My grandmother has a small house out there, along with a traditional Russian banya. My parents were looking forward to the evenings, but I didn't want to leave the city at all. That's the difference between our generations, I guess. And as it turned out, I was absolutely right not to want to go. The taiga is a very dangerous place. The forest is full of wild animals, and many people have gotten lost there. Some never came back. Especially at night, it becomes like a real-life setting for a wrong turn movie. When we got there, it was actually pretty impressive. The house was old, 2 stories tall, and there was a banya on the property. My parents were only thinking about the banya and vodka. I just wanted to record the moment on video so I could look back on it someday.
Hi everyone, this is our little house, and that's the creepy forest. They say there are bears and wolves out there, but my grandpa is very scary when he's drunk.
In the evening, we lit a fire outside using our grill. We made traditional Russian chicken shashlik, and my parents opened a bottle of vodka. I didn't drink alcohol, and honestly, I wasn't having much fun with them. So I decided to walk around inside the house and look at some of the old stuff. The house didn't feel very cozy. An old light bulb, faded wallpaper, and lots of dust and cobwebs on the ceiling. I went up to the 2nd floor and found a strange old door. It had a lock on it. What caught my attention was the fact that it was locked. Why didn't Grandma and Grandpa use that room? I looked around the rest of the house and then went back outside. Right away, I decided to ask my grandmother about that room. She gave me a very strange answer. She said it was just a storage room with tools, but the way she said it made it seem like she came up with it on the spot. Then night fell, and the forest looked really creepy. The dark trees made it impossible to see anything behind them. We stayed up late, talking about everything. Around 2 a.m., we finally went to bed. We had to sleep on the 1st floor. Grandma and Grandpa were sleeping upstairs in their bedroom. I lay down on an old creaky bed and tried to get at least a little sleep.
We are in our house. It's 2 a.m. My bed is really uncomfortable, but I'm so tired. At night without any lights on, it's just as creepy inside the house as it is outside. I would never stay here alone for a whole night. I kept hearing some noises behind the wall. Alright, see you tomorrow.
In the morning, we woke up and washed our faces with cold water. There was no hot water, no shower, and even the toilet was outside. My parents woke up too, and we all headed into town. That day, I wanted to meet up with my friend. I had become friends with him when we were kids. He doesn't speak English, but luckily for him, I speak Russian. I called him, and we met up near the hotel. He had changed a lot. I asked him to give me a little tour around town. He spent the whole day showing me the coolest spots. We visited a museum, a monument, and a really beautiful beach.
Hi all! We are at the beach, and behind me the largest lake on the planet. An incredible sight.
As evening approached, we went to the Eco Trail. It's a really cool place. Highly recommend taking a walk there. We returned to town around 6 p.m. and met my parents at a restaurant. I asked them what time they planned to go back to the forest, to the house. But they told me they'd be staying at the restaurant until morning with some old friends. They asked me to go to the house and spend the night there alone. The thing I really didn't want to happen was starting to come true. But I didn't want to sit around with them drinking vodka all night either, so I went to the forest with my friend, and he agreed to spend the night with me. We arrived when it was already dark outside. My friend was also impressed by the look of the house, because with the lights off and under the moonlight, it looked really gloomy. The atmosphere was heavy, the sound of wind and trees swaying, and the feeling that no one else was around. We went inside and tried to turn on the lights, but for some reason, the switch didn't work. I had no idea how to turn on the electricity in the house. I tried calling my parents, but none of them picked up. That started to really annoy me. My friend suggested not to stress about it and just light some candles. He said it was creepy in a fun way. I didn't feel the same. I'm really scared of the dark. I'm also afraid of creepy old houses, dark forests, and balloons. Thank God there were no balloons in the house. I decided I'd sleep downstairs and told my friend he could sleep in the living room. We lit a few candles, had a quick snack, and chatted about life. Then we went to bed.
The second day is coming to the end. I like the city and I was glad to meet Alex, but I'm already tired of sleeping in this house. I want to go home. See you in the morning.
I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. The sounds. I heard the creaking of old floorboards, rats scratching behind the walls, and then it started to rain. Thunder rumbled, and the window lit up so brightly it felt like daytime. I just hoped lightning wouldn't strike the house. There was no way I could sleep now. I got up, took a candle, and walked over to Alex. He was sound asleep. Of course, he's a Russian man. I decided to go upstairs. The walls, in that kind of lighting, looked like something out of a horror game. I approached the locked door. What was behind it? My curiosity was killing me. I went into my grandparents' bedroom. Maybe I could find the key there. Their room looked creepy too. I checked the nightstand for keys, but all I found were some sheets of paper, some kind of contract. Now I realized that those sheets of paper might have contained a lot of information that could have saved me from what was about to happen very soon. Oh well, just one day left. I went back downstairs and lay down. It rained the entire night, and surprisingly, it turned out to be one of the most peaceful nights of my life. I slept so soundly. I guess without gadgets and lights, I merged with nature and slept like a primitive human being. Nothing distracted me, and the rain actually lulled me to sleep.
Good morning, everyone. I slept great. I already went to the bathroom outside, and you can't even imagine how amazing the forest smells after the rain. During the day, this place looks completely different. Today is the last day in Siberia.
Alex and I decided to take a walk in the forest. At that moment, my parents came back to the house. They went straight to bed after a long and fun night. Alex and I wandered through the woods, and I actually felt how nice it was to realize that it was just you and nature out there. This connection with nature can only be felt in places like this. After a bit, Alex went home. I walked him out, and then strolled through town for a while. By that time, my parents had woken up and also come into town. They were ready to party for another whole night. They had a table reserved at an Armenian restaurant, and I realized that I'd be spending another night alone at the house, but I wasn't worried about it anymore. I sat with them at the table for a bit, and then headed home. The solo walk in the fresh air worked like a sleeping pill. I was on my way to the house and planned to go straight to bed. It was already dark when I arrived, and I didn't even care that I was alone there. The atmosphere that once felt scary now felt comforting. Oh, and I figured out how to turn the lights on in the house, so I didn't need candles or a flashlight this time. I sat on the couch and turned on the TV, which only had one working channel. I just watched it, enjoying the solitude. At midnight, I went to bed and fell asleep right away. I didn't record anything on video. I decided to keep this moment just in my head, in my memory. That night, I woke up. It was around 3 a.m., I think. I needed to go to the bathroom, which was outside, so I grabbed my phone and stepped out. It was pitch black, and the toilet was behind the house. I sat there swatting away mosquitoes. They were trying to eat me alive. After a couple of minutes, I stood up and started opening the door. And at that moment, I noticed someone had entered the house. My parents must have come back. I didn't think they'd return in the middle of the night. I walked toward the front door and saw someone inside with a flashlight. Why didn't they turn on the lights? I stepped inside and heard footsteps upstairs. I was sure it was my mom, dad, or maybe my grandparents. I couldn't imagine it being anyone else. I lay back down on my bed and closed my eyes. A minute later, I heard a loud bang upstairs. Something had fallen, and then I heard the creak of a door opening. I got up, rubbed my eyes, and slowly went upstairs. I saw that the door was open. That door. And someone was inside. I slowly stepped closer and saw a man. "Grandpa, is that you?" Shit. A stranger in a balaclava turned to look at me. I could only see his eyes. He clearly wasn't expecting to see me there. I immediately bolted downstairs. He was easily twice my size. I ran down the stairs without looking back and heard him chasing me. He was shouting something in Russian. I ran outside, and the only place I could go was into the forest. There was a car parked on the road leading to our house, and I was afraid there might be an accomplice inside. I ran into the dark forest, tripping over tree roots several times. I scraped my arm and shoulder. I had no idea if he was still chasing me. I got up and hid behind a tree, trying to listen for any sounds. It was quiet. The silence scared me even more because wild animals could be nearby. I started recording video, wanting to document the moment. Maybe it would be useful for an investigation later. You couldn't really see me in the video. I was just talking about the house and the masked intruder. And then I heard a voice. He was speaking Russian. I realized he was looking for me. I ran deeper into the forest, pushing through trees and branches. I kept the recording going, knowing I was being chased. It's easy to get lost in the taiga, especially at night. My grandma had always warned me about that when I was a kid, but I remembered her words and tried to keep track of the direction I was moving. Eventually, I seemed to be alone. I had a rough idea of where the road leading to our house was, so I decided to head that way. After about 5 minutes, I was standing on the roadside looking around. No one was there, so I chose not to go back to the house. I headed straight to town. And that's where, thankfully, my story ends. I told my parents what had happened, and after that, only my grandparents dealt with the situation. They never told me what the burglar was looking for, or whether he was ever caught. But every time I think about that house, I can't help but wonder, what would have happened if that man had caught me? And most of all, what was in that room?